Okay, welcome back to Coding Concepts. Today we're going to cover variable scope. So scope in programming refers to certain areas of your code where variables exist. In languages with curly braces, a scope will be inside those curly braces. Here's a C example. So inside the function do something, we have the variable x. This variable only exists within the curly braces in red. It doesn't exist in the main function. So if you do something like this, it will give you an error. X doesn't exist there. It only exists inside the do something function. Languages with curly braces can create scope anywhere. So here we have the main function, which has its own scope, and then we have two scopes inside it. And we create A inside the first scope and B inside the second scope. So you can only access A inside the first scope and only access B inside the second scope. When a variable is no longer valid, we call it going out of scope. So say for example we do something like this, we do A plus 1, or A doesn't exist anymore because it's only in the first scope. If we've exited the scope, it doesn't exist anymore. I'll show you how this works in memory. So here we have stack memory. Again, you can look at my video about the stack and the heap if you don't know what that means. It's basically the memory that your program has by default. So say we're starting here, so the arrow is where we are in the stage of the program, and the orange box will be the stack pointer where the stack pointer is now. So first we come to here and we create A, and an integer is 4 bytes, so it will be 32 bits or 4 bytes, and we make it the value 10. Then we add 1 to that, and then we get to here. What happens when we get to here? The pointer goes up, and then the memory will be cleared or deleted when needed. So it's basically like A doesn't exist anymore. Like A refers to memory that you can't access anymore. Well, you can access it, but it's invalid, basically, is what it is. Then we go to this part, we get to the next scope, and we create B. And then we overwrite where A just was. So A doesn't exist, it's overwritten. Like A doesn't exist anymore. We add 1, and we try to access A, and it's like, what? This doesn't exist anymore. What are you doing? This is how scope works. So to fix this, what we should do is make A outside. So A is now in the main scope. So now you can access A in either scope. So now we create A, make it 10, come to here, add 1, scope ends, but A still exists because it hasn't ended that scope. Then we create B, give it value 20, add 1, and we add 1 to A again. Then we come to here, the end of B, and B gets cleared. Well, it doesn't. The memory doesn't get freed, but the pointer goes back up as if it doesn't exist, and it'll be overwritten as needed. And we get to here, and then everything is cleared. Now, any code with curly braces has scope, so it works with if statements, functions, for loops, classes. So here we create X, and we say if X is higher than 0, then we create B, and then we try to add B after the if statement. Well, this will be an error, because B only exists within the if statement. The scope, it's gone out of scope. We can't access it anymore. To fix this again, we need to make B outside of the scope, and then we can do this, and it's fine. So global variables are in a global scope, meaning they can be accessed anywhere. So we create A, which is the global variable, and we can access it in both functions without any problem. For languages without curly braces, scope is usually based on functions and classes. For example, here's a Python example. We have def function, and we create X inside it, and then we call function, then we print X. What's wrong with this? It's going to give you an error because X only exists inside the function. It doesn't exist in the global area. In Python, it doesn't exist, so this won't work. In Python, you can do this though, which is very weird. So we just have if true, and we create A, and then we print A. This will still exist because it's still inside a function. If statements don't create scope, they don't end variables. You can still print. You can still do this, but you can also do stuff which is very dangerous, like stuff like this. So you create B, you make it 10. So if B is less than 10, then you create A, and then you print A. This will actually crash. It will give you an error. Why? Because the if statement would never be true, and if the if statement is not true, then A won't be created, and you can't print A. So again, to make this safer, you should do this. You should create A, and then set the value of A if the if statement is true. But that's all for variable scope. Let me know if you have any questions. See you guys next time.